Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Welcome to EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
You're listening to Eddie Frederick, where good values make great radio.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Right, wonderful folks, and of course we're here once again. It is the ultimate Sunday before Christmas. Oh boy, some of us are like children when it comes to Christmas. Doesn't matter what's going on in your life. As soon as it's Christmas time, it is just the time to be happy. Even the atmosphere outside feels different. Rain is falling, but still there's something happening. You know, the sun's shining, but yet there's a crisp to it. It's such a lovely time of the year indeed. Folks, Merry Christmas to all of you. I really pray and trust that you bring back the reason for the season so that you don't feel deprived, you don't feel left out. Because when that Christ child was born, I don't think, Mary and Joseph, according to the biblical story, I don't think they felt any way left out. Things were just lining up for them. Everything was aligning for them. But it was a child that was born in total humility. Yet for all we feel, we cannot have a good Christmas if we don't enjoy the spoils, having everything, even if we have to pull the devil by his tail to get them. So folks, let's remember the reason for the season. As soon as you join us today, remember to share, comment, like, love, react, and just interact as you do. For those of you on YouTube, do the same. Hit the subscribe button so that you can get notifications readily. Just a short reminder though, I have 2 pages on Facebook, with one of them easy to follow so that you can be notified when lives are on. Let's get started. And of course, 2026 is going to be the year of lives. A lot more will be happening because I live for this, folks. I love it, as you can probably see. I've been doing this for all of 40 plus years. And I mean, come on. I love it. Who would do something for so long? Even in the prime of their life, they still love it. Tells you something. Love really does drive things. Today's topic is a society that protects stupidity is destined to be ruled by it, by stupidity, that is. And this edition helps to aid my consistency at frank discussion, spanning, of course, 4 decades on the airwaves of a country where foolishness and stupidity abound. A place where a constantly deteriorating society presents itself at every turn. One where sensible citizens have taken a back seat and allow the miscreants of society to have the greatest say, as enabled by the most inferior leader between 1995 and 2022 for the most part. I am certain that you would find our discourse here today both factual and entertaining at the same time. So let the colorful language flow today. This first segment here speaks to when foolishness rules, the fall of common sense in Grenada. They say common sense is a flower that does not bloom or blossom in everyone's garden. And that is so apropos for Grenada. It is so apropos. So good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on whichever part of the world you're listening right now to this cry for help wrapped in a weekly podcast. Welcome to EDDIE-FICATION once more, the show that looks at our beautiful nation state straight in her bloodshot eyes and tells her what she needs to hear, not what she wants to hear. You know that feeling? You're driving through St. George's. The potholes left by the lousy contractors of this replacement water mains project of Nawassa are deep enough to qualify as UNESCO heritage sites. The traffic system is a suggestion more than a rule. And you see someone arguing with a traffic warden or even a traffic police because they literally parked where they should not, inside almost a business. And you think, how did we get here? Well, my people, I have a theory, a brutal, unvarnished theory of that. It's this: a society that protects stupidity and foolishness because of personal benefits is destined to be ruled by stupidity and foolishness. Ruled by it. You know what that means? It means when you allow people of extremely low standards who were poorly socialized, on top of which have a flawed character and a track record of failure upon failure in all aspects of their lives to get near the precincts of power in and over our people. Chaos must abound. This we have been privy to for all of the period 1995 to 2022 for the most part. Let that marinate, folks. Let it sink in like a bad debt, so to speak. Today, we are not just talking about the everyday, harmless brand of stupid, No, not the put salt in your tea by accident stupid, no. We're talking about the institutionalized, celebrated, politically sanctioned brand of pure, unadulterated foolishness that has been running this island like a drunk captain, steering any one of those locals' boats or ferry service in a hurricane for nearly 3 decades. You see, we have become a nation where common sense is a revolutionary act, where the sensible, hard-working citizen, the farmer, the nurse, the teacher, the tradesman, has been pushed to the back of the bus. And who was driving the bus during that long and extended period? The miscreants, the loudmouths, the connection men, con men and con women, the ones who believe the world owes them a living because they can shout the loudest, or they know a cousin who knows a minister back then. And for the lion's share of this descent into madness from 1995 to 2022, for the most part, we were shepherded, and I use the term with a maximum possible sarcasm, by a leader whose primary talent was not vision, not intellect, not integrity, but an almost supernatural ability to appeal to the baser instincts of and empower the very worst among us. A man who presided over the great dumbing down, making foolishness not just acceptable, but a viable career path and very normalized. Think I'm exaggerating? Look around you. You don't have to look far to see evidence of what I just said. For a political party that presided over this country's affairs from 1995 to 2008, and then again from 2013 to 2022, to end up losing power and can only offer this nation its worst to speak on its behalf, whether through podcasts, social media appearances, etc. This tells you all you need to know about that sad and sorry bunch. You see, we protect the stupid when we see how mangled the public service has become during that period of descent over the period presided over by the miscreants of society, blatantly incompetent, clinging to their posts like a barnacle on a sinking ship because they have a paper or know a man. We promote them to keep the peace. We protect the stupid when a contractor does a job so shoddy it would make a child's sandcastle look like Fort George. And instead of suing him, we shrug and say, well, so I go. What you gonna do? Rubbish, according to the Nigerians. Rubbish. But the real carnival of idiocy is in a public sphere. For 27 years, almost, we had a front row seat to the masterclass. We watched as financial experimentation was sold to us as genius, the kind that leaves generations in debt for inferiorly shiny, unfinished things and things that never materialized because we guaranteed international cons who drew down and ran away with our much needed funds. Look at us now in massive debt. Nothing to show for it. We listened to speeches that were word salads, delivered in affected accents, dressed in a suit while standing by our national flag. saying everything and meaning nothing. We normalized corruption so blatant, it should come with its own parade and steel band tune. You see, this leader didn't just allow foolishness, he weaponized it. He went all out to make the sensible feel small and eventually excuse themselves from everything. He made the critical feel unpatriotic. If you questioned a clearly nonsensical plan, you were against progress. If you demanded accountability, you were causing trouble. Meanwhile, the sycophants, the enablers, the intellectual lightweights were given microphones, titles, and a piece of the pie. They were the loudest voices in the room, and my God, the room got dumber by the minute. It is only now that the instructor of their dumbness is not in power anymore. You can see how much the fool you were played over the years. 23 long, wasted years of mayhem. It was Isaac Asimov who said, when stupidity is considered patriotism, it is unsafe to be intelligent. You see, many took a back seat, not me. Many were tired, not me. Too many were busy trying to make ends meet while thinking, surely this can't last. But it did through the negligence of too many of us. Again, not me. And in that vacuum, the miscreants thrived. The politics of patronage replaced the politics of progress. Showmanship replaced statescraft. And we, the people, got poorer, angrier, and more divided, while the landscape of our island bore the scars of stupid, short-sighted decisions. We built on hillsides, then screamed no in every language of geology. We treated our tourism product like a cash cow to be milked dry, not a garden to be nurtured. We watched our young minds become experts at memorization for exams, but lost the art of critical thinking, of asking why. So here we are, a society where the foolish man with a loudspeaker has more influence than the wise man with a plan, where a viral video of a nonsense argument gets more attention than a community meeting to fix a water problem, where style is everything and substance is an afterthought. We were ruled for so long by the very stupidity we were too polite, too timid, too compromised to confront. But it's not over. Even though the architect is no longer at the helm, he made sure to booby-trap the entire place before leaving. And booby-trapped it really is indeed. We see the protectors of stupidity parading all over on committees and entities where their lack of decency enables them to leak documents and even aspects of confidential group chats to their dunderhead mouthpiece, who do nothing to protect them as their source. What does this prove? It is difficult, bordering on impossible, to find a decent person who supports the interest of the current opposers of the duly elected state authorities to represent them in the interest of Grenada on any committee, organization, whatever it is, because they have to represent the inferior cult they support. You see, the first step to curing a disease is diagnosing it. And the diagnosis is this: we have been in an abusive relationship with foolishness for so long. We've normalized it. It's time for an intervention, folks. We have to stop protecting it. We have to stop rewarding it with our silence, of course, with our votes, our shares on Facebook. We have to champion the sensible, the quiet doers, the people with real answers, not just catchy slogans. We have to demand more from our leaders than a good performance at a town hall meeting. We have to hold them to a standard higher than, well, they give me a job, you know. Rubbish. We must become intolerant of the stupid that holds us back. The stupid that says we can't do better. The stupid that sells our future for a cheap today. Our Grenada is too beautiful. Our people too inherently clever and resilient to be forever ruled by clowns and con men. That's why we changed in June of 2022. The change that June 2022 brought to us all must be maintained, so we keep moving in the direction away from the miscreants of our society. You see, the Spice Isle deserves a government of wisdom, not a carnival of clueless, as has obtained for far too goddamn long. You see, it is time to take the front seat back. Take it back. And if the driver is heading for a cliff paved with good intentions and bad ideas, we need to grab the wheel too. We have the best chance to turn things around in this dispensation, as we make plans to steer clear of even ever returning to anything that resembles the period that directly preceded June 2022. Goodly folks, that's the hard truth for today. I know it's heavy. I know it stings, but sugarcoating the rot won't fix it. We have to scrape it out. We simply cannot bury our heads in the sand and hope it will go away, because when foolishness rules, common sense will have no place among us. I know when you encounter the amount of foolishness on our roads, you are convinced that we are indeed ruled by foolishness. I will continue to ask you to think sharp, speak up and speak plain, and demand better. But for God's sake, think. A society that protects stupidity is surely destined to be ruled by it. Let's take a little break and we'll come back with some more fire, folks.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cool Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful. And of course, I believe I'm not at liberty to call names, but we have a couple of people who are celebrating birthdays today. Happy birthday to you, folks. The 21st of December seems to be a popular day for a lot of people to have been born, so to speak. So happy birthday. I trust and pray that you will have a wonderful, wonderful time today. I see a couple of them are actually missing on the program today, so they're out doing what they can do. But Facebook and YouTube usually archive these programs, so you can always come back and swell the numbers. Do what you got to do when you join. Share. So thank you. For those of you who are just joining, welcome. As I always say, my motto is better late than dead on time. So when you come in, you know what to do. Share the live. Welcome back, folks. Let's just have a little frank talk here on basically what role has the boyfriend played in providing the platform for stupidity to reign supreme in and over Grenada. Remember, he has been the longest serving leader in a post-independence context, making him the leader who must take responsibility for the level of stupidity and dunceness which his leadership style helped to entrench, normalize, and institutionalize. So welcome back. Last segment, we laid out the principle. A society that protects stupidity is destined to be ruled by it, placing much emphasis, of course, on when foolishness rules, common sense will have no place among us. The response is always expected to be volcanic. Newcomers must be saying, yes, somebody finally said it, boy. But one question kept bubbling to the top, hotter than a pepper sauce on a Saturday. But who built the stage for this circus? Who handed out the many clown licenses in Grenada for 27 years for the most part? Well, you asked for it. So let's get specific. Let's talk about the architect of our modern malaise. Yes, the modern, terrible society in which we live today. You see, the man whose shadow is so long, it cast us in an almost permanent twilight of low expectations. Let's talk about the poor character known in his bizarre and cringe-inducing later years as the boyfriend, and probably husband again by now, because this is the weekend. You see, the longest-serving prime minister in our post-independence history, who has to fight up for statesmanship after the fact, at a time when his rancor has been ratcheted up, causing more people to argue against recognition for him as anyone who played such a leading role in Grenada's history. What a sad reality indeed, that you could serve for so long and you have to fight up for relevance to be referred to as a statesman. Oh, Gede. You see, it's a part of the stupidity that the society would love to protect, forgetting that all the people whom he tried to maim during his high and mighty days are not all dead. And due and overdue curse lurks at every corner. You see, the political equivalent of a tenant who overstays his welcome, even if he's 20 years shy of 100, rearranges all your furniture, racks up debt in your name, and then leaves you with a leaky roof and a bunch of empty promises in a fancy frame. You see, to understand how stupidity became our state religion, you have to study the man who was its high priest for almost 3 decades. First, let's dismantle the myth of the boyfriend. This wasn't cute. This wasn't charming. This was a calculated late-stage rebrand of a man whose political capital was bankrupt. After decades of top-down paternalistic rule, the I know best doctor, he tried to slip into the cardigan of a gentle, caring suitor in his last appearance in Parliament. The boyfriend. It was political cosplay. It was an attempt to soften a legacy of iron-fisted control over the weak, poor, and vulnerable, to make people forget the arrogance and remember a sweet talk. It was in itself a profound act of arrogance and foolishness, believing a nation with that much history with him could be so easily gaslit. But it worked on enough people, which proves our point. It certainly worked on the dunce and docile, those who are known to not pay attention, and those who set out to benefit from that broken system with undying support. Now, how did the boyfriend lay the foundation for the dunceocracy? Let's take a look. The cult of personality over competence. Satan's grandson didn't just lead a party, He was the party and continues to be the party, as the party is getting to find out. The National Nasty Party became a vehicle for his will, not a platform of ideas. Loyalty to him trumped competence, integrity, or even vision. You could be as thick as any of Grenleck's planks, but if you were his plank, you got a ministerial post, a board appointment, several contracts. Even if you can't perform in any of them, is there any secret why the country is as disheveled as it is after his dominance dwindled? He filled the halls of power with yes men, sycophants, and the intellectually challenged whose main skill was applauding on cue. He created a system where thinking for yourself was a career liability. When you promote the loyal fool over the critical thinker, you institutionalize, normalize, as you were, stupidity. And some of you want to reward that kind of nonsense by referring to that kind of element as a statesman today. Oh, Gede, you really don't know what a statesman is. Not that one. What about the patronage pipeline? Stupidity's paycheck. This is the engine room, The old geezer mastered the politics of the handout, not the hand up. The constituency visit wasn't about presenting a policy. It was about doling out cement, zinc, and empty promises. It created a permanent state of dependency. It taught generations that citizenship wasn't about holding power accountable, but about begging power for scraps. It said, don't ask about the national budget. Ask what the boyfriend can drop off for you this weekend. This system rewarded the most short-sighted, transactional thinking, both in the giver and the receiver. It turned national development into a series of personal favors. And that, my friends, is the economics of foolishness. And some of you want to reward that kind of nonsense by referring to this element as a statesman today. You see all you crazy? What about the silencing of dissent? If you're not with me, you're against Grenada. For years, if you question this geezer's projects, the ones that smelled fishier than the guava fish market on a hot day. You were branded a traitor, a naysayer, someone against progress. But what progress? He framed sensible scrutiny as unpatriotic noise. This had a chilling effect. The sensible citizens, the professionals, the business people, they took a back seat because the front seat was a firing line. Into that vacuum rushed the loud, the brash, the unqualified who had no critique, only praise. He made foolish debate the norm, shouting matches over substance, personality over policy. And some of you want to reward that kind of nonsense by referring to him as a statesman today. You all need to go and hide. The grand, shiny, empty gesture. The nastinesses era was the golden age of the white elephant. Projects often seemed designed for the ribbon-cutting photo op, not for long-term viability. We became experts in things that looked like development, but lacked foundational intelligence. It was government by spectacle. This taught people to value the shiny over the solid, the announcement over the outcome. When your leader celebrates the opening of a thing more than the sustainable operation of it, you're teaching a masterclass in superficial thinking. Hello? And some of you want to reward that kind of nonsense by referring to him as a statesman? That's foolishness. The erosion of institutions. True intelligence in a society resides in its strong, independent institutions. The civil service, the judiciary, statutory bodies. But the boyfriend's model, sustained over 27 years for the most part, often saw these institutions weakened, politicized, or even bypassed. When you can call a man to get something done faster than going through the proper intelligent channel, what do? You undermine the entire system. You make stupidity, the shortcut, more efficient than sense, the process. This is how corruption and foolishness became the operating system. And some of you want to reward that kind of nonsense by referring to that architect of decadence as a statesman today. You didn't see the society really deteriorate. You obviously do not understand what a statesman is. So when we look at our landscape today, folks, the potholes of poor planning, the debt mountains of dubious projects, the culture of who you know over, of course, what you know, the loud, empty rhetoric that passes for public discourse. We are not looking at an accident. We are looking at a decrepit legacy. In fact, that is why the political tapestry of Grenada, having won 3 elections with full mandates, that's why it looks the way it looks. So if he really did what he had to do for genuine nation building and was not wired to do otherwise and for himself, no one would have to be fighting up today to give him statesman flowers. They would have naturally followed. We who pay attention are seeing who the peddlers of this nonsense among us are. Agents of stupidity and foolishness, I dare say. Tropical Trump wasn't just a leader who allowed stupidity. He was a master craftsman who built the ecosystem where it could thrive, multiply, and eventually take over the host body. He made it profitable. He made it safe for his allies. He punished intelligent dissent. The boyfriend phase was the final pathetic twist. An attempt to be loved for being nice after a lifetime of being feared for being a powerful bully. But the damage was done. The platform was built. The microphones were handed to the dunce. The question now, Grenada is not about assigning blame. Oh no. That's clear as day. The question is, do we have the courage to finally dismantle this platform of stupidity? Stupid brick by stupid brick. Or are we content to just change the host of the same foolish show? You see, the cure starts with calling the disease by the name of the man who incubated it for 27 years, for the most part. The prescription, folks, is bitter, but the infection could be severe. Time to take our medicine and our mental multivitamins. A society that protects stupidity is destined to be ruled by it indeed. Let's take a break and we come back with a lot more.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cool Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful. Now, we have a lot of turkeys to fry here today. And in fact, I have some competing noise on the outside. Escapers outside in the neighborhood, so I gotta get a move on here. So welcome those of you who have been late. It's a pleasure to have you. Merry Christmas to you, season's greetings, and all that good stuff. So how do we protect future generations, folks, from being attracted to this level of normalized stupidity? Remember, the theme for today is A society that protects stupidity is destined to be ruled by it. You see, we see it mostly, folks, on our roads with drivers. In fact, you don't have to start off as stupid or even foolish. But if you follow the rules, you will never advance. The majority of drivers among us are selfish, and they lack common sense for the most part. But that is a derivative of their personal lives. That's how they live normally. Me, 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 me. Nobody gives anybody a break willingly on the road. It's like if you want to judge the character of a nation, see how its people drive, and you'd be able to understand. You could be driving and you see someone who needs a lift. As soon as you indicate and you stop to pick up that person, the driver or drivers behind, without any consideration for the kindness you are doing, they start honking their horns as if they too do not stop to pick up anyone. You could be in a precarious situation where the common sense thing to do is to allow you to pass. And because the driver on the side with the right of way knows he has the right of way, he proceeds and ties up the entire traffic for an inordinate amount of time just because common sense took vacation from his system. And you know where that applies mostly, folks? In that Woburn back road that we have to use because of the closure of the cliff. Could you imagine that? Cars are parked all the way down, but you might get a little ease up with one person, a little car length, and you're in there. The person who's coming down, they may have seen that, but they will not ease you up. They still come and they create total traffic jam. No sense, because it's all about them. It's my right away here, but what about you? What about my sense? You're supposed to have your sense too, to know that if you proceed, because you see, rules were made for men and not men for rules. So sometimes you have to compromise. And if you don't, hello. You see, people who make absolutely no provision for their private vehicles to park feel every time the authorities widen the road in their area is for them to park and defeat the effort to make things even more convenient for traffic. They also feel they have a right to park on the side of the road closest to their house, even it is around the corner. But these people should have read the highway code before doing the written to get their license. Since NAWASA's national repiping project started, after the new administration was able to rescue the funding from the British government that the last administration ignored for years and was almost lost. And you know, the reason why they ignored it is because that money came with accountability. They had to account for every cent. And they never were attracted to money like that. They want to spend their money for themselves, so they'll take money from commercial banks where they have free reins over its spending, so they could determine who they spend it by and how it is spent, if at all spent. Hello? That's the kind of rubbish we used to have to deal with here. That is why we end up with a national debt insurmountable. You see, folks, that British government funds, though we lost some millions because they reinstated it, but it had a penalty. That project is important. We have to be prepared as a people to make sacrifice, because you're drinking water from pipes laid 100 years ago. You know what kind of water you're drinking? In some areas, you might be drinking the pipe itself, because some of them may have caved in. You're getting the message. Hello. Come on, folks. We have people complaining about the color of the water coming through to them. Yet for all, you're hearing all these miscreants making all sorts of stupid, scurrilous remarks about the state of the road as if it just takes so and it get bad and the government just bad mind. They're not fixing it. It's sad. You see, these dimwits are using the inconvenience that comes with this important project of changing our over 100-year-old underground mains in an attempt to score cheap points by only concentrating on the state of our roads after laying the said pipes. But there is absolutely no expression of common sense that the roads cannot be paved right away, as the method has to leave room for proper resettlement of the filling before paving can begin. Instead, what you are hearing is a lot of hogwash, representative of no reasoning and absolutely no capacity for sense. This time here so now calls for patience on the roads, folks, and collective sacrifice for us to get cleaner and safer water to every household across the entire island. But no, this is not important to them. What is important is that they put on display their ignorance and tiny brain capacity for the world to see in the name of free speech and freedom. Not realizing that in the process, they are all showing up themselves as a people steeped in stupidity and foolishness, which their architects bequeathed to them, proving how mangled for life they all are. Poor and vulnerable, not just in material and money, but in the mind. You see, it is true that the government should compel NAWASA to do better than that and take responsibility for effective public relations that is so sadly lacking during the life of this project. NAWASA should be educating, blitzing the country on this particular project and its various phases, attempting to pacify them about the state of our roads and walking us through the process so as to create understanding nationwide. There should be no compromise by the government on this, as the lack thereof is causing the miscreants of society to parry themselves while polluting the atmosphere with their dunceness, foolishness, and abject stupidity. Folks, in our last segment, the question we ended with is the only one that matters now. We have autopsied the past, but how do we build a future where our children look at the old, normalized stupidity, not with nostalgia or attraction, but with disdain and disbelief? How do we make them immune? This isn't about politics anymore. This is about cultural engineering and re-engineering. It is about installing a mental firewall so powerful that foolishness just bounces off. But here's the manual with a few important steps, folks. We really and truly have to deal with some linguistic vaccination. We must change the words we use. There's power in the word, folks. Language creates reality. We give life to the language we speak. Stop using the soft, forgiving vocabulary of the past. It has never worked. Don't say, he's just making noise. Say, he is communicating without content. That is his professional incompetence on display. Don't say, that was a bad decision. Say instead, that was an intellectually bankrupt policy devoid of evidence. Don't say, oh, he's a character. Say, he's a distraction from substance. We must teach our children to label foolishness with the precise, cold, clinical terms foolishness deserves. Make it sound like what it is, a failure of intellect, not a charming quirk. If it is a dunderhead speaking, call them by their right name. But what's the other step? The historical reckoning project. You see, stupidity survives in the dark. We must shine a permanent, unforgiving light on it. We need a living digital archive, a Dunn's Chronicles, if you will. Not run by the government, but by citizens, historians, and journalists. What a pity. We are sadly lacking in the department of the latter. Every failed project, every empty promise, every ridiculous quote from the past 30 years should be meticulously documented with photos, videos, cost analyses, and consequences. Not as an exercise in bitterness, but as a permanent public utility. You see, when a new politician offers the same old snake oil, a teacher can pull up the archive and say, hey, see here? In 2004, they said the same thing. Here's the crater it left. Make historical amnesia impossible. But what's the other step? Re-engineer hero worship. You see, our celebrity ecosystem is toxic. We celebrate the flashy, the loud, the connected. We must hack that system. Create and elevate counter-narrative media, podcasts, YouTube channels, social media accounts that don't just criticize, but obsessively profile the doers. You see the young farmer using hydroponics, the coder from Sorters creating an app, the environmental scientist restoring coral. Give them the production value, the interviews, the shine we normally reserve for carnival fetes and political rallies. You see, matrix over mystique. Teach kids to measure people by their output that benefits the objective, not their output that only massages their ego. How many people did they employ? What problem did they solve? What value did they create? Shift the currency from charisma to tangible results. But there's a fourth step. Institutional jiu-jitsu. Use their tools against them. You see, the purveyors of foolishness used spectacle and simplicity. We must use their own weapons, but for sense. Make critical thinking viral. Use TikTok, Instagram Reels, WhatsApp statuses to spread, I would say, 30-second lessons in logic, rhetoric, and financial literacy. Memify the fallacies. Make spotting a red herring or an ad hominem attack, a common skill, like knowing the latest dance. Because we see a lot of red herrings coming up. And these ad hominem attacks, we see them all the time. Instead of responding to the argument raised, they would instead tear out in the talent who has raised the argument. We have to gamify governance, folks. Create an app and school competition for all, where students have to run a virtual Grenada. They get a budget. They face hurricanes, negotiate tourism contracts, manage debt. Let them experience the real crushing weight of decisions. So when they hear an inferior element posing as a politician promise the moon with no math, the internal alarm bells will scream. Remember, they don't have marbles to play and rondels and all these things when there's a little dispute that they can solve that dispute among themselves. There's just no practice, for that. Instead, you find the young people playing games that are violent based. So what is happening? The encryption of violence is taking place inside here. But what about the no platform pledge? That's another step. You see, this is the hardest, most crucial step. We, the current generation, must commit to starving the beast of attention. Stop giving microphone time to clowns. Media houses must be shamed into it. Don't invite the bombastic, unqualified blowhard to debate just for ratings. Invite a soft-spoken expert with the analytics and facts. Socially ostracized, proud ignorance, folks. There are too many people in Grenada proud of what they should be ashamed of. When someone at the rum shop starts glorifying the good old days of patronage and corruption, the room must go cold. Don't argue. Don't engage. Just let the silence hang. Then change the subject to something that requires the use of a brain cell. Make foolishness socially costly. Not enough of us do it. You see, the core inoculation must be a story of self-worth. Ultimately, people are attracted to foolishness when they feel powerless, when they feel disconnected and without agency. Patronage feels like help. Theatrics feel like representation. We must give the next generation a more empowering platform, let alone story. You are not just a supplicant or a lobbyist. You are a stakeholder. This island is not a plantation to be managed by a boss. It is a complex system that you are meant to understand, contribute to, and help lead with your active contributions. We must build a Grenada where a young person's ambition is to build a world-class marine research center, not to get a government van, to create a globally competitive spice brand, not to get a board appointment. You get a message? To write code that solves our traffic problems, not to know the minister's personal phone number so you could call him or her to harass them and to look big to your friends that you have their contact. We must be able to start an accommodation concept that others are forced to replicate and use as a pattern to start theirs, like the world-famous Spice Island Beach Resort. Not to start one ignoring the norms that will make you successful. Folks, we protect these people by making the old model look not just wrong, but pathetic, small-minded, and boring. The normalized stupidity of the past must be treated as it was, a parasite. It fed on our inattention, our cynicism, our short-term thinking, and of course our divorce from an attitude of self-development and self-advancement. Not for the life of me can I understand why people seem so opposed to self-development when this will help them to grow. And you know what we said GROW was? An acronym for get rid of weaknesses. So you grow. Protecting the future is an active daily project of cultural cultivation. We are not just pulling weeds. We are planting a new, stronger, more intelligent forest that will choke out the old, stupid undergrowth for good. But it starts with us. Right now, folks, the language we use at dinner, the heroes we point to, the nonsense we refuse to tolerate, hey, it starts with us. Let's build a Grenada so fiercely bright that stupidity is seen squinting from a distance. That future that we deserve ought to start right now. You see, they said the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. But the second best time is now. Folks, I can see 2026 is up for grabs. If you proceed as you're going, not minding your business, you will surely get absorbed by the magnetic negatives of this world. Let us revisit our independence. After all, we will be 52 years old as a nation. The turnaround is necessary to undo the ills of 1995 to 2022 for the most part, where foolishness and stupidity were allowed to take root and flourish. Just remember, a society that protects stupidity is destined to be ruled by it. Folks, let's take a break here and we come back to our final segment. Saucy for days.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. So we just taking our final segment here and head on out. Wonderful. So welcome to those of you who are pretty late. Of course, you know your position in the class by now. That would be at the back because we need no distractions. You cannot be walking up to no empty seat in the front because you will distract the rest of the class. Folks, old sages proffer that if you remember too much, you will die quickly. Only people with a short memory live long. You see, the die they refer to here is not physical alone, but mostly spiritual. The light-hearted among us who don't hold anything or anyone prisoner seem to have the recipe for long life indeed. Recognizing this, I've been trying with special zeal to practice light-heartedness as my new way of life going forward. For the most part, folks, I have extricated most things, activities, and people who were and could be aggravating to the soul. Get out of my life. You see, pulling back from society has been doing me well. I can tell you for a fact, the lack of interest in the mundane has been giving me all the time I need to concentrate on the things that truly matter. You see, at my age and stage in life right now, folks, I have more time behind me than I have in front. So my life is really short when I look forward. So what should I do? Continue to behave stuck in the behaviors of the back? No! What's past is dead. EDDIE-FICATION, as the Arabs would say. That's done. Finished. Quits. You see, I've had some experiences that I had to learn over the years to forgive myself for undergoing. And I can assure you, I'm totally over them now. I must confess that every one of them came differently, pulling at different aspects of my character, as if to test my resolve to forgive. Some so scathing that the trauma lasts for a while until time elapses, and then they fade. But some of the experiences were so unexpected. But never mind how many chances I gave a person with the hope that he or she would realize that I am out of character to react with silence. Once he or she proceeded to repeat and repeat, folks, I had to say goodbye. I am glad that I have learned to disconnect silently as against with fanfare, as used to obtain in my more immature years. You see, these few years going forward are for peace, and no one will be given permission to interfere with my peace, as this is the main highway to genuine happiness. When two sets of liars start a relationship, folks, two sets of old tea for dishonest people generally, it may look unbreakable on the surface. After all, they are both fluent in illusion, skilled at hiding flaws, and comfortable living behind carefully curated Instagram stories. So yes, it can seem like nothing can separate them, not even the truth. This is what we have seen with the development of the NNP, the National Nasty Party, and of course its followers over the years. In fact, personal traits of people follow and dominate their professional existence. But here's the deeper lesson. A relationship built on lies doesn't collapse because the truth is powerful. It collapses because honesty was never invited in the first place. Love is not sustained by how well you can hide, perform, or manipulate a narrative. Love survives on alignment, transparency, and the courage to be seen as you truly are. You see, when truth finally shows up, it doesn't destroy real love. It exposes what was never solid. So you must ask yourself, are you loving from a place of authenticity? Or are you bonding over shared deception? The latter is so true for the NNP, the National Nasty Party, and the vast majority of its supporters and followers. Because sooner or later, truth always knocks. And only honest love can open the door without fear. Choose honesty. Choose wholeness. Choose a love that doesn't panic when the truth speaks. You have to be strong in the process, folks, because as you depart the circle of stupidity and foolishness, you will hear all sorts of stuff about yourself you never imagined possible for anyone to utter. You have to be strong. You have to stand against the tide of all these slanderous nonsense. Be true to yourself and don't ever be tempted to feel anyhow about yourself because of how you may feel others feel about you in the process. Let consistency take up permanent residence in your system and you will prevail in the end. Folks, isn't that a recipe for confidence? You see, when the decay of tribal politics started its real descent in 1995, and with all its indications that it was worsening as time passed. Few voices sounded from the wilderness rejecting, while the beneficiaries, the opportunists, genuinely ignorant and foolish, were being absorbed by it. They had nothing to say. Now today we have to live with the consequences of tribal politics, which have divided families, maimed great friendships, and devoured our entire community, rendering it dysfunctional. The beneficiaries of 1995 to 2022, for the most part, are today objecting to it, as if who replaced the architects of the said malady and decadence are the ones responsible. Sad indeed, eh? Just look around and you would see the level of people the remnants of the architects of such dysfunction have around them as mouthpieces and scribes. And listen to each of them, and even their wife. You remember that word, the wife? And you will understand what I mean. What about the father of decadence himself, the originator of the total deterioration we are today immersed in? Every time he opens his mouth is ribald and commonness, straight from the gutter, where he and many of his sorry supporters and followers reside. And we have people among us wanting to tell us that we should give him statesmanship legacy. Oh, Gede. You see how poignant the topic is here today? A society that protects stupidity is destined to be ruled by it. That is what that group did for an overextended period that they were around the precincts of office. Promoted and protected foolishness and stupidity because it yielded votes in their favor. Just look at the society today for it. Dyslexic and dysfunctional for the most part, almost beyond repair. While they were the ones who enjoyed the largesse of the national treasury without having to lift a finger to make themselves useful to the state for such a long and extended time, with things having changed, all you can hear from them is complaints about everything, just because they have to work now to earn their keep today and going forward. You see, the regular pushback they did not expect for their nonsense and stupidity has them so bazodi that they start to recoil and play victim while talking about divisive politics. Well, you remember what I said, the Nigerians say, rubbish. You see, some people hate you for no reason. And it's not because of who you are, but because of what they were told. People believe lies faster than truth, telling you all you need to know about them and the pea brain they have in there. This is especially so when the truth is really quiet. They don't know your real spirit and only gravitate towards the gossip because gossip is easy to come by. You see, the man who has buried his pain does not explain his silence. No matter how long the night is, the sun will still rise. When God is protecting you, even enemies become watchers. Folks, you can never lead people to a place that you have never been. If the universal God has allowed you to go through moments of pain, you are likely to help so many other people out of their pain. You will never be able to be used effectively in any position of leadership or to lead any other person in a route or through a way that he has never taken you. So your moments of pain have purpose. Highly intelligent people, folks, don't usually look different. They behave different. If we all learn to pay attention, we will be able to recognize truly intelligent people via these signs. They spend a lot of time alone, not because they dislike people, but because they've learned over time that not everyone is honest and not every intention is pure. They protect their peace and enjoy the silence that others seem to be afraid of. They think deeply about everything. They reflect before they speak and act, not out of hesitation, but because precision matters to them. Their mind explores every angle. That's not indecision. It is sensitivity, clarity, and attention to detail. They read people quickly and accurately. You can't fool them. A glance, a gesture, one careless word. That's all they need. Their intuition notices what others miss. And when they say, I knew it, it's because they did. Intelligent people don't trust easily, you know. They've seen too many masks to believe the first version of anyone. Their trust must be earned slowly. That's why their circle is small. They value quality over quantity always. Folks, but they suffer. And even if they suffer, they transform that pain and never use their wounds to harm others. They rise, they refine, they grow. True intelligence is measured, folks, not by knowledge, but by character. And remember what I said, character is who you are, while reputation is what others think of you. But folks, they don't usually return harm because they see harming back as a weakness. They forgive, move on in silence, and keep evolving. Intelligent people don't need to prove anything. Their actions speak quietly, and their growth speaks the loudest. So when one rises to attain the status of intelligence, one realizes that you cannot control or dictate the opinions and attitudes of other people. All you can do is live your best life, be a decent person, and live and speak with integrity. This is when you can go to sleep at night knowing that you did your best today. That's it. And prepare to do your best tomorrow, even to top off what you did today. But folks, as we're getting ready here now to wind down this program today, I just want to remind you, if you give a pig a bath, the moment you are done, that pig will run right back into the mud. And that is not because the pig is stubborn, but rather because it is its nature. The frog will carry a scorpion across the river, but you know the scorpion will still sting that frog. Why? Because it's his nature. The truth is simply, you will never convince a fool steeped in stupidity with facts if his mind is built on mediocrity. He will reject any light that threatens the shadows he lives in. So ignorance is not only the lack of knowledge. In our society, it is mostly the choice of comfort. Plato warns us that many prefer the shadows of the cave because the light hurts their eyes. And that is why there are people we will never be able to awaken. We just have to wait for them to die. Do you not? I want you to consider yourself, folks. Never consider yourself a failure when dealing with such people. Oh no, there's some people you just can't do anything with. So don't push it back to you being a failure. Hell no, move on. How can you succeed with anyone who made a conscious choice to choose the mud and the shadows over clarity? Once that choice is made, no argument or truth will ever be enough to pull them out. Look at the public servants who now have a pension secured so they don't retire in abject poverty as so many of their predecessors. Yet for all, some of them are still followers and supporters of the regime that told them it was impossible for the right to a pension to be reinstated, even with court judgment upon court judgment ordering its reinstatement. Look at some of the teachers who received their reimbursement of their docked salaries immediately upon the election of this administration. You actually can see and hear several of them speaking in ways that they ought not speak, as if to show up themselves as active subscribers of battered women syndrome. Look at our police force. Officers are now being paid properly today with the adjustment of their salaries. And we are left to see what time will prove in that quadrant. You see, my simple advice is to stop wasting your energy trying to convince those who are invested in staying blind or eating a food or remaining dunce and brave to show it. Knowing how to observe people is one of the most important gifts you can give yourself, folks. Sometimes God removes people from your life because he sees what you can't see. He sees their intentions, their future actions, the things they do behind your back currently. Trust the separation. It is divine protection. We need to tell people who glorify stupidity and foolishness, don't come and try to mess with our peace just because they can't find theirs. We are never responsible for their chaos or the chaos that these people refuse to heal from. We work too goddamn hard to protect our energy, to unlearn toxic patterns, and to build the kind of peace we used to pray for. So if you still have war with yourself, please don't bring that battle to our door. Healing is really your job. Growth is your responsibility. We are not here to carry what these flawed characters are not willing to confront in their own lives. Protecting our peace isn't selfish, it is survival, folks. If your presence feels heavy, it is because you are avoiding your own truth. Do the work and keep your distance, for fear that everyone gets to find out that pretty face and lovely body are only masking deception, dysfunction, and chaos. Time will always expose you. You see, the world is known to punish every single one who is a genuinely good person. Hence the saying, no good deed goes unpunished. You see, genuinely good people are usually alone, not because they are antisocial, but because shallow conversations feel expensive. They overprocess everything. Life doesn't just happen to them, It collides with them, and they take the hit. They have the ability to read people instantly. Some people call it judgmental, but genuinely good people are not judgmental. They are discerning, and reading people quickly is a protection instinct that leads them to permanently avoid conflict. That's why the insecure many call them intimidating. They don't trust others easily at all because they have watched too many promises expire. They've also suffered more than they could ever explain. Instead of becoming cruel, they become more generous, just on a more selective basis to ensure the deserving rarely receive of their kindness. That's why this world resists them. Depth destabilizes all the systems that are built on masks. So no, if you are a genuinely good person, you are not too much. You are just incompatible with people who survived by pretending. If any of these represent anything of you, stop shrinking to fit in. All the discomfort that you cause is proof that you are real and you are authentic. So examine your surroundings. And if your phone is quiet, be content that your standards have risen bountifully. One last nugget of reason before I take off today. We have to be aware of those whose philosophy it is to keep the people poor and occupied in their stress. Exhausted bodies have no strength for rebellion. A hungry man dreams only of getting bread, never of dethroning inferior and advantageous leaders. The overworked laborer craves sleep, not justice. Give them just enough to survive, never enough to thrive. They remain docile, grateful for scraps. You see, people's prosperity is poison to power. The well-fed grows idle, and idleness breeds questions. Security invites demands. Leisure forges conspiracies. You see, comfortable citizens begin to ask why they bow. Then you know what? They refuse to bow. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this. You see, desperation forces obedience while abundance awakens defiance. Starving men obey while sated men organize. So keep them tired, hungry, busy, balanced on a knife's edge, and they stay manageable. Grant them ease and wealth, and you create the very hands that will remove you. We have removed such leaders and must ensure through our new consciousness we never return to those inferior leaders whose mode of operation is to keep the masses poor and vulnerable. As we quickly march towards 2026, folks, we need to practice gratitude as a matter of course until it becomes second nature, so that the door of abundance could be permanently open to us. We need to remember, by virtue of the drastically changed world in which we currently live, no one is coming to save us. How we lived in the past has got to change if we are to survive. You see, we need to make the switch from being overly religious to being simply spiritual instead. For when you dwell in that space of spiritual maturity, you allow people to be wrong about you. You let them create a narrative about you, even though you know it's false and not being moved. In fact, you and all might add to it. You see, generally we react from a place of proving people wrong without realizing that that's trauma and dysfunction. When we are rooted in our source, peace flows naturally. And your standard of living and quality of life proceed while the naysayers continue to eat the bread the devil need, not knowing where the next meal is coming from. Folks, when you position yourself for what you truly deserve in this short life, you will always sidestep any temptation to fit in just because it is fashionable to do so. Goodly folks, I want you to be reminded that as high as 80% of the world's population operate at the level of lack on account of their negativity and the foolishness and stupidity they subscribe to. Only 20% seem to be on the right track with their lives. Interestingly, a vast majority of the 80% enjoy hanging out with each other, constantly reinfecting themselves as if to ensure they remain that way till death. Don't be like them. Break free by hanging with members of the 20% so something desirable could rub off on you and change your trajectory and thus your destiny. I want to tell you thanks for joining me today during our 298th edition of EDDIE-FICATION. I trust you're a lot more edified. But remember, please, a society that protects stupidity and foolishness, I dare say, is destined to be ruled by it. Time to break free. Have a Merry Christmas, goodly folks. Enjoy yourselves. I'm in, I'm out, and I'm gone. Thanks for joining. Continue to share. See you next week at the same time, same place for more extraordinary programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, remain vigilant, and stay lifted. Stay focused too. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Just type in my name, Edward or Eddie Frederick. No fake names. Subscribe, like, and share. and be prepared to receive your mental multivitamins as directly as I deliver them to you. Until next time, stay curious, stay frank, and for goodness sake, always remember, think, but don't forget to set boundaries. Take great care of your wonderful selves. Once again, have a happy Christmas.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This has been Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.